Hey, Kool-Aid Man.
Hi, Nicholas. So you wanna go sit down and chat somewhere?
Yeah. Do you know of a good place?
Yeah, I know a few places.
All right. So the first question of the interview is discussing um, this question about kind of your history and your kind of art education, I guess you could say, but also your kind of the early part of your career, which is like invested in cinema and film history. And I'm wondering how that kind of education or that fascination or that interest or that part of your kind of early part of your career has like spilled over into kind of more recent work.
An underlying theme or goal is a constant search for artistic tools and methods that best represent or reveal modern experience. So I look for ideas and inspiration from those who also struggle to represent, their experience of modernity, whatever the time period or era. In fact, I believe that the different generations or time periods that have been termed modern are more similar than different. I mean, be it Chaucer or Cory Archangel, the artist has searched for how to represent and critically examine the present.
Oftentimes, one can approach your work or look at your work through the lens of the appropriation or co-opting of what could be called like amateur technology or pop technology. Things like Google Maps, Second Life, Cafe Press, the 3D warehouse, stuff like that. And I'm wondering how that influences the process of your work, whether it influences it from the onset or whether it influences it from the middle or is it an afterthought?
Well, like I said, literature and cinema are big influences, but equally inspiring are the things that I consume and experience every day, surfing the internet and exploring the emerging virtual worlds like Second Life, for example. It's not so much the amateur technologies themselves that inspire me, but what amateurs are doing with these technologies, what they are using the technologies to create. That's what really gets me excited. I just love looking at stuff that people have created without the intention of it being called art. I mean, stuff that is being made by people semi naively who are simply excited to create things. And I think this enthusiasm is shared by many of my colleagues. There's an aspect to Second Life that is grotesquely kitsch, and I can't help but loving this aspect. I think we've reached a point now, my generation, where we don't even know whether we're celebrating something and saying it's great and affirming it, or if we are engaging in an ironic critique and mocking it. We've almost collapsed the two.
I'm wondering how these encounters kind of maybe happen through the process of your work, but also, you know, it seems as though it's kind of an inevitable um, result of the kind of jurisdictions that you're dealing with. It seems like I think I suggested elsewhere these areas are kind of ripe for these kind of collisions. So I'm just wondering, do you feel yourself kind of like stumbling into these, or do you feel yourself already observing them and wanting to call attention?
Well, part of me feels like I've completely and artistically surrendered to this present reality where there is no dichotomy between high and low. I think for Dadaists in the early 20th century, there still existed a certain intellectual rigidity and a perceived distinction between high and low, and so they were able to react against the social existence of this dichotomy. But for my generation, I feel like there's this distinction between high and low art or culture is pretty much like dissipated. I don't think anybody could really claim that anymore that this is culture and this is not culture. I mean, our art pretty much assimilates everything, so there's nothing really to react against in that respect. There's a sense that we're completely impotent of making any true revolutionary critique, and that in a way there's no escaping this kind of centralist monster where our authority is ambiguous or so obscure and so nameless. I think there is this helplessness, and that we all feel. And we all feel it, and so we retreat or repress it and displace it. But it can't help but return, remanifest in different ways, and or there's a certain playful irony that I find that is also tragic at the same time.
I mean, a kind of follow-up question to that is that, a lot of this sounds very pessimistic, yet the work seems very optimistic. The work seems, very. It's lighthearted, and is definitely reintroduces that playfulness, as opposed to being like anthropological or something, removed or distant or something.
I think maybe it's just because I'm really enjoying the act of exploring these virtual worlds. There's a genuine excitement there. That's a good question. It's like, how come we can take so much pleasure in a movie in which all humankind is completely annihilated? We've reached a point where we're enjoying our own nightmares. It begins with the absolute joy of an explorer discovering a new world that can be searched and investigated endlessly. And in Second Life, I first found individuals who do not always describe themselves as artists, but who created with a passion that was totally inspiring. Second Life is the ultimate tourist destination. It's an endless expanse where different symbols float around together equally and free from the weight of history. It's turbocharged Las Vegas and Dubai combined. It's where every possibility and combination of landscape and architecture can exist. Second Life was an artificial world that admitted its artificiality, and one that best represented the anarchic psyche of the internet. And I was just excited to document my discoveries and share it through my tours. But the same process unfolded with both Street View and Second Life, where the historical role of the artist, the perspective of the artist slowly entered. And this is also connects with my earlier studies, where I had learned that to be able to see reality within one's own art, you have to be worthy of it. I think I came to realize that Second Life, like Street View, reveals a lot about the present. It reveals a world that is totally constructed, groundless, with no reference points. I think Kool-Aid Man as an avatar functions differently than most other avatars. Many avatars in Second Life are some form of representation or extension, idealized or other of their owners. I think sometimes Kool-Aid Man's presence is unnerving. And sometimes when I look at Kool-Aid Man's smile, it terrifies me. There are those who believe that when dreams become reality, they become nightmares. And perhaps Kool-Aid Man in his tours transforms our experience of Second Life in a way that highlights this possibility. The work I create when I'm reframing or adopting the role of a member of the community may not free us, but I hope that it points to the conditions under which we are trapped.